What's up guys, FlamingVictini here, and we're finally back on the Smogon server for some more SPL content. This time we've got GeeMick of the Cryonicles versus TheEnder of the Alpha Ruiners. Now, TheEnder has brought a Metacham Tangrowth team that I feel like I've seen something similar from him before, but basically it's got Sand plus Metacham, which is, I think, a good core, and he's got Tangrowth, Clefable, Latios, which is kind of interesting. It seems, I guess Tangrowth is actually kind of interesting. It helps him out versus Bisharp, which could have been a threat, and GeeMick has an offensive team featuring Sharpedo plus Breloom, which is pretty cool, and oh, there we see a flinch from the Excadrill's Iron Head on that Lando T, and that must be really annoying for GeeMick. I presume he used U-turn, maybe like some rock move or something to break that balloon and go out to something like Breloom or something to threaten this Excadrill. And I think we can review the. Actually, what I'll do at the end of the game is I'll just run a replay through of the beginning turn so we know what happened. But let's just see what the other mons are at. So looks like Heatran has taken a bit of damage, and that's it from GeeMick's team. Whereas on the Ender's team, I think the Tyranitar got burned. That we saw the Heatran had Will-O-Wisp, and so that got burned. Let's see, Magma Storm, Will-O-Wisp, Tran, yup, right here. So he missed a Wisp and burned that Tran, and yeah, so basically, Metacham came out, Mega Evolved, used Fake Out, Tran burnt some stuff, burnt the T-Tar, which got up rocks, and GeeMick got up his own rocks with his Lando T, and took 2 Iron Heads from this Excadrill, which is really bad. So the Ender decides, okay, so this is not a U-turn Lando T. I think that makes sense. I mean, just knowing GeeMick, I wouldn't be surprised if this was like Swords Dance Lando T, Swords Dance Rocks Lando T. I would be very, actually I could see it being Yachi Berry too, because he's a little bit weak to electric types, especially with like the Klefki and Latios and Heatran get Volt switched around. So I could definitely see this being like a Yachi Rocks Lando T with just SD2 attacks. So the Ender decides he's gonna let his balloon get popped to get those rocks off the field, and I think that's a smart decision, really, because GeeMick doesn't really have any ground attacks other than this Lando T, and yeah, he doesn't really have any ground attacks other than Lando T, which just died and couldn't switch out because of rocks anyway. And this way the Ender makes sure that his T-Tar doesn't take that chip, so he can set up Sand one extra time potentially, or maybe even a few more times, depending on how he plays it. And it'll also help out his Tangrowth, which is the Ender's answer to this Breloom. So there we see that it is Super Power Breloom, and he gets a critical hit, which is just really 70% is strong. But I think Tangrowth might still be able to live one. Let's see, we did 70, and that was what, 3/2 of the damage it normally would have done. So 2/3 of that is like, what is it, like a little, like around 40%, a bit more than 40%, and that crit superpower, now he has a -1, so unless it was doing like 45% or more, which I don't think it was, this superpower might be a roll, depending on whether this superpower on the Tangrowth was a high roll or a low roll. But I'm really not sure if a second superpower will kill the Ender's Tangrowth, and he may choose to pull a pivot into his, perhaps into his he might choose to pull a pivot into his Clefable and then go back into his Tangrowth, but I'm really not sure if that's, it could be a little bit risky is what I'm saying, but he also wouldn't want to lose his Tangrowth because of that critical hit. And now, I think in the long term, I think I noticed that GeeMick Sharpedo seems like a really big threat, and GeeMick actually pulls a switch into his Sharpedo as the Ender goes into his Metacham. Now the Sharpedo is, I think, a really big threat against the Ender because it can get those speed boosts to outrun the Excadrill and Sand, it can kill the T-Tar easily, it can kill the Latios, and on the Metacham it can utilize Protect to block Fake Out, and then it can hit it up with like the Strong Jaw Crunches, which I think I'm actually going to run a calc to see whether GeeMick needs some prior damage to kill that that Mega Metacham. So yeah, look at this crunch. That's actually Adamant, yeah, but Sharpedo would be running Adamant, and that's to 16 HP. So yeah, look, this crunch is a guaranteed kill. So that's looking like, and then now the remaining answers that the Ender has to Sharpedo are Tangrowth and Clefable. And if the Sharpedo does have poison coverage, like Poison Jab, then that'll work really, really well for, yeah, if it's Poison Jab, If it's Poison Jab Sharpedo, that means he has a way to hit the Clefable a little bit harder and hit the Tangrowth a bit harder. Although Ice Fang would be good to hit the Tangrowth hard as well, I guess, because he has that Strong Jaw boost. But because of Regenerator, TheEnder probably has a better chance to... Okay, so GeeMick does choose to Mega Evolve and just go straight for the Crunch. I mean, it was a difficult position because if GeeMick did not Mega Evolve and TheEnder chose to stay in, then he wouldn't have killed the Medicham and he would have died, and he couldn't really switch out because then if TheEnder stayed in, again, he would have died, and if TheEnder switched, he wouldn't really kill anything that turn. But now by losing that speed boost, I don't know, I'm not really a huge fan of losing that speed boost, which I think could have been really helpful, but I think because the Sharpedo does have base 105 speed, but it will be adamant, I'm not sure if it'll be able to outrun that Medicham or not. So yeah, GeeMick does pull the switch into into Latios on the Excadrill's EQ, goes to the Heatran on the Iron Head, yes. So he's just wasting his Sand turns right here, and now that the T-Tar is gone, this Excadrill is a limited threat, but it's definitely still a pretty big monster versus GeeMick's team offensively. He doesn't really have anything solid to take it on once that Lando T is gone. But I mean, now that Sharpedo is Mega Evolved, there's no way he can outspeed the Latios, and I'm not sure if it'll outspeed the Medicham. Now we did see Fake Out damage earlier. What is Reckoner? Reckoner is the Lando T, so we saw Fake Out did 15% to a Lando T, which I'm thinking is kind of offensive actually, so I'm going to give it those EVs. And we saw a -1 Adamant. Yeah, that I think that's a Jolly Medicham. I feel as if it would be Jolly. Let's see, what is... TheEnder's team is also a little bit weak to Manaphy, I guess, and I don't know, I definitely think it might be Jolly Medicham. It also helps him with other base 100s, like Gardevoir, if he needs to like speed tie it or something, or Manaphy, stuff like that. So I think it could be Jolly Medicham, which means it'll outspeed Adamant Mega Sharpedo. So I think if GeeMick did not Mega Evolve, if he made the play right there expecting the switch from TheEnder, that would have been really, really huge for him, because it also would have meant that TheEnder could not bring in his Excadrill, and it also would have meant that he could keep his Sharpedo speed boost for later if he wanted to try to get a more opportune time to try to sweep TheEnder's team with the Sharpedo. Now looking at other threats, GeeMick does have the Latios, but TheEnder does have a Clefable to answer it. He has a Heatran, which TheEnder does not really have a solid answer to. But he just lets his Heatran go. GeeMick's timer was getting really, really low, down to like 10 seconds, so I think he was trying to debate whether to go into his Latios or his Heatran there, but I definitely think, his 10 seconds, he better not time out, that'll be really, really sad. Okay, good. So, he goes into his Sharpedo now that the sand has gone out, and TheEnder needs to tread this water very carefully. If he pulls a wrong switch into Clef or Tang and just takes a little bit too much damage, that could make GeeMick much more likely to break TheEnder's team, and TheEnder needs to be careful around that Breloom too. He does have the Medicham and the Latios to check it, plus Life Orb wearing it down, but he does need to be wary. I don't know, I feel like this game is kind of in TheEnder's field right now. It looks pretty tough for GeeMick. This Sharpedo is certainly a threat, but I don't know, it just feels like GeeMick is really lagging behind at this moment. So, ooh, there's a crunch, nicely played by GeeMick, and down goes the Medicham, so that helps GeeMick out with the fake out stuff, like faking out versus Breloom, faking out, and just outspeeding in general, or faking out versus Latios, and coming in on Klefki to take a T-Wave and HJK something. So, now TheEnder's got in his Clefable, and wow, this is looking like a really big threat to GeeMick's team, because Klefki really cannot take on Clefable. It needs to be Metal Sound Flash Cannon Klefki to really handle that Clefable, and GeeMick just goes for the Waterfall, does not get the flinch, and TheEnder fires off that Moonblast to kill off that Sharpedo, and now this is looking tough for GeeMick even more. He's going to go to his Breloom. I'm not sure if TheEnder wants to pull a switch into his Tangrowth or not. I'm pretty sure he'd be able to tank a Superpower, and he'd want to not have to eat a Spore. I mean, the Latios could be a threat, I think. I think the Latios could be I mean, it really depends on that Tang spread. I think it might be AV Tang. It makes some sense. TheEnder's team is a bit Diancie weak, so I could see that being AV Tang. I think he's using Tangrowth over Amoonguss, because of his fear for Bisharp. I think that's why TheEnder has Tangrowth rather than Amoonguss, but I think it would be AV Tank, helps him sponge hits from like Diancie, as I said, stuff like that, Thunderous. It just helps out in general, so that might limit how much damage Latios can do to TheEnder's team, but if this Clefable gets too weakened, the Excadrill gets a little bit more weakened, and Latios wins speed tie versus TheEnder's Latios, I could see it doing a lot of damage, so GeeMick goes for the Bullet Seed. Okay, so GeeMick goes for the Bullet Seed, gets those 3 hits that he needs to kill off the Clefable, and it is gone. So now, TheEnder brings out his Latios and actually reveals that he does not have Psyshock, he has Psychic. Psychic's a pretty interesting option to 2-hit KO Clefable on the Switch. Actually, Clefable have been starting to run a bit more SPL than they used to, so I'm not entirely sure if Psychic does 2-hit KO Clefable on the Switch. It also helps with physically defensive Venusaur. I don't know, I haven't really used Psychic Latios that much, so maybe I'll ask later on what purpose it does over the Psyshock, but I don't know, I think Psyshock is a pretty nifty move, but now GeeMick seems to be in a somewhat better position. Like, if he can be a little bit aggressive right here, and like this Klefki helps him take on the Latios, but it also gives, like, TheEnder can pull a switch to Tangrowth here, for example, and get that Regenerator going, and I think that Regenerator would be really, really big for TheEnder. GeeMick could pull double switches, I guess, to pressure TheEnder's team. Yeah, TheEnder does go to his Tangrowth, and oh, it is Flash Cannon Klefki, and that did 35%. That's strong. What? I need to calc this right now. Flash Cannon versus Tangrowth. That can't be Assault Vest. That did so much damage. No, there's no way. Let's just make this timid so I know it's not this. Yeah, there's no way. What? How did that do so much? That has to have offensive. That can't even be Assault Vest. Remove this. Wow. So that's like a high roll Flash Cannon to non-Assault Vest Tangrowth. So I don't know how I feel about that. It seems like it's a little bit weak to Diancie. I guess TheEnder's Clefable can kind of sponge hits from Diancie, and he does have the Excadrill to check Diancie offensively. Maybe we saw Thunder Punch from the Medicham, and I kind of doubt he would run Bullet Punch, Thunder Punch, and Medicham, but I guess it could happen. GeeMick makes a very nice play. Ooh, now GeeMick is definitely pulling himself back into this, so he makes a very nice play. Oh, it's Rocky Helmet. I don't know how I missed that. I think I just... Oh, we definitely saw this earlier on the Superpower. Yeah, we saw this Rocky Helmet damage on an earlier Superpower, and I completely missed it. I thought it was just Life Orb damage. But GeeMick makes a good play there by not Mach Punching the Excadrill and Superpowers the Tangrowth on the Switch. And, I mean, TheEnder is still maintaining the health on his Excadrill, so I still think he's in a better spot because he can beat the Latios, unless it's like Surf Latios. But yeah, TheEnder does let his Tangrowth go to this Superpower, and I guess the Rocky Helmet really worked out there to take down that Breloom faster. But man, I don't really know how I feel about being like using I mean, I guess Tangrowth helps with Scizor, and yeah, it must be HP Fire Tangrowth. Like, I could really see it being HP. Oh, there's an HP Fire from the Latios, not able to kill the Excadrill, and yeah, the Iron Head kills it. So yeah, that's the game. I think the Latios really needed to have Surf or not even Earthquake right there to kill off that Excadrill, and the Rocky Helmet at the end with the Tangrowth really made a difference, because that Breloom went down faster than it would have, and without that Breloom gone, that left pressure for it, like if it came in on the Excadrill, to either Spore or Mach Punch, and that could have made or broke the game. So that Rocky Helmet in the end really came in clutch for TheEnder, but at the same time, I'm not really sure how I feel about it as an overall team choice. I don't know, I feel like Spadef is good to have in the Tangrowth. Really, I would, if you could use Amoonguss, I think that might even be preferable, but it does open up a weakness to Scizor and Bisharp, so I can really definitely understand Tangrowth, and I can understand Rocky Helmet too, and physically defensive, but I'm not entirely sure in general, but I think it's pretty good, and TheEnder's team looks pretty nice. I like GeeMick's team too. I liked his team for sure. I liked it, and it just, I don't know, I think that flinch early on with the Excadrill also was a pretty big change. Actually, let's just do an instant replay to see what happens. So yeah, the Heatran did lead off with versus the Medicham, switched out to his Lano T on the fake out from the Medicham. I presume he went for did he double? Yeah, he did go double. Okay, so he doubled to his Heatran. And did he go for Magma Storm right here? Yes, he did. Yeah, Magma Storm Wisp Tran is pretty cool. Wisp is pretty nifty. And GeeMick's team is a little bit Sharpedo weak, so I definitely can understand Wisp. So he misses the first Wisp. Yeah, GeeMick got a little bit unlucky in the first few turns. That first Wisp miss wasn't really that huge, but I know the flinch on Lando T was definitely a much bigger factor in this game. So I think he went for the rocks right here, and now this is where he got up to date. So yeah, that was pretty much the game. I think that flinch on Lando T might have made the extra damage on this Excadrill that would have changed the game. I think what it would have done is it would have stopped the Excadrill from spinning. And if you stop the Excadrill from spinning, that definitely could have made a difference in the overall game. Because, yeah, I mean, Excadrill didn't come in more than, well, no, that it did come in. I'm pretty sure it came... Actually, I don't remember. I don't remember how many times Excadrill came in after this, but I think maybe if there wasn't the early game hacks, GeeMick could have won in the end. I think it's possible, but yeah, anyway, that's sorry for rambling at the end right there, but I think that's just the game right there. Pokemon is Pokemon, and stuff like that happens, so not really sure what would have happened without the hacks, but it was definitely a good game regardless, and GeeMick really fought at the end. He made some great plays to bring it back, but just wasn't able to finish it off. That Rocky Helmet Tangrowth really cinched the game for TheEnder. So yeah, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later.